Up next, Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission sit at the dais. A city planner sits at the staff desk.
Call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. The Planning and Zoning Commission is an independent advisory body of the City of Ames City Council. Planning and Zoning Commission members are volunteers of the community and not part of the city administration. Planning and Zoning Commission is supported by staff from the city's planning division. The commission is responsible for recommendations on matters involving subdivisions, annexations, master plans, and major site development plans, amendments to the zoning ordinance, and comprehensive plan amendments. We make our recommendations based on city codes, the facts presented, and input from the public. As an advisory commission, we welcome all comments regarding the proposed item. Please direct your input to the commission. If the proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that comments be focused on new information not previously presented. You may speak only once on an agenda item. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker information card and present it to the recording secretary. We ask that you come to the microphone to speak so that all comments may be recorded. The order of the proceeding for each item on the agenda will be as follows. City staff will present the staff report regarding the agenda item. Commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of city staff. The applicant won't be invited to make a statement regarding their request. Commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Members of the audience will be invited to come forward to offer comments and questions. Once public comment is closed, city staff and the applicant will have an opportunity for concluding remarks. The commission will discuss the application based on all presentations and any comments given and come to a recommendation for city council. The discussion may include further questions of city staff and the applicant for clarification. And with that, we will move into the first item on the agenda, which is introduction of commission members.
Julie Winter.
Mike Clayton.
Matthew Voss.
Mike Sullivan. All right, and then we'll move to approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And next we'll move to approval of the minutes of February 18th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor of approval of the minutes of February 18th, 2026, say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. And now we'll move to public forum. If there's anyone from the audience that wishes to speak about an item, step up to the microphone now and introduce yourself and your address, and feel free to speak. Hearing none, we'll close the public forum. We'll move to item 6 on the agenda, which is rezoning and master plan amendment for 4605 and 4510 Hyde Avenue and adjacent parcels, Auburn Trail Development.
Good evening. So this proposal is a rezoning and amendment to a master plan. It includes adjustments to the original development plan for this Auburn Trail development, as well as adding in 2 50-foot wide parcels on the north side of the development. So to kind of explain that a little bit more, this is the existing zoning map. You can see the hatched parcels. There's 4 on the east and west side of Hyde, and then these 2 are the subject properties. In yellow, 4605 and 4510 Hyde were already rezoned for development to FSRL in 2021. We've since annexed these 2 50-foot strips on the north side of the site. So they have to be rezoned so that they can be integrated in with the development. And we've had some other changes that the original master plan, I'll pull it up here, that shows kind of the layout, building types, densities. That also needs to be amended to include those parcels, but there's been some changes in the configuration of the development that we'll talk about some more. So again, while most of this area has already been zoned and has a master plan, what we're thinking about tonight are some changes to the general development layout, as well as addition of those 2 50-foot parcels and rezoning of those parcels. So the proposed zoning district for outlots A and B, those 50-foot strips, is FSRL, matches the existing zoning of the other 2 subject properties. It's consistent with Ames Plan 2040. This is an expansion area of the city. It's It's designated residential neighborhood 3. So it's in line with the densities required of that future land use designation. And it allows for 1 and 2 family detached and attached housing types. They did submit a master plan with this rezoning request. I'm showing it now on the screen. Again, this is the updated master plan. They're showing the minimum density here on a table at the bottom, where they go through developable acres versus open space. So densities of 3.75 to 4.4 units per acre, which this master plan concept supports. In total, they're showing approximately 155 to 190 units, which is a few more than the previous plan. Again, we've added some land here and had some changes to our zoning ordinance that add some flexibility. So there are about, the previous master plan had 181 maximum units, and this one does show 190. So 9 possible more, but that is a range. So they'll be within the 155 to 190 range. And then the master plan, the colors on the master plan represent developable acres versus open space. And so the orange would be developable acres. You can see the open space, which includes a swale down the middle of the site. And that's open space that has to be preserved when we're looking at the preliminary plat. We could have additional open space with the preliminary plat for stormwater conveyance, or a pocket park is required, but this is the minimum that we'll see. It also identifies a collector street that will connect from Hyde with a future development to the north, as well as a shared use path along that collector street and along Hyde. And then the site is within the Ada Hayden watershed, and so we do have our conservation design and low impact development standards that will apply here to the preliminary plat, and we'll review that those are met with the preliminary plat. But I did just want to note, we did update that ordinance relatively recently. And so because of those changes, the developer has proposed less open space set aside within the master plan. 2 prior natural areas that indicated wetlands because of hydric soils are no longer included in the open space areas. They are now proposed to be incorporated within the development areas. They're pretty isolated. So here is one of the wetlands. Here's another wetland. And they don't really have any wetland indicators beyond hydric soils. So there's no wetland vegetation or other attributes. So the staff has not recommended that they've been maintained as natural areas with this master plan. And so overall, we've determined that this revised master plan is consistent with the type of land use plan for this area and our comprehensive plan. And the changes to the site layout have increased the development capacity of the site. The general layout is in support of our low impact development and conservation design standards. And again, we'll do a complete analysis of these requirements when we do the subdivision review process coming up soon here. So I'm happy to take any questions, but we are recommending alternative 1, which is a recommendation to City Council for approval of this rezoning and master plan amendment request.
Outlots A and B, if I remember right, they were put in place so that the parcels north of 4510 Hyde could stay outside of the city limits.
Correct.
Having now that they're in the city limits, will those parcels have to come in?
Those parcels were already in.
Oh, they're already in. Okay.
Yep.
Could you expand a little bit on the mention of the pocket park, and especially with, since the property a little ways to the south, there was a lot of discussion around the park needs there. So with respect to that and
Sure.
potential pocket.
So due to the distance of this project from a neighborhood park, we require a dedication of a park with the preliminary plat. So what we're looking for with that will be certain recreational or other elements. Our Parks Department will also review that. I believe it's not, the location isn't indicated on this master plan. So it could be as part of one of the open spaces, or on other versions we've seen it located within the development area. So it could be within that orange area as well. So this just didn't meet, like with the other development, there was a neighborhood park within a certain distance. But this development we do require because of the distance from a neighborhood park, pocket park.
So would that be like an HOA type park or an actual city facility?
I believe it's a city facility.
Okay.
No, it's not a city facility, but our Parks Department will review it.
I don't think it's been determined yet.
Okay.
So if it doesn't meet all the attributes of what a public park would have in terms of access and location, it would then be looked at as an HOA amenity. So we have a few examples in some subdivisions in the city where there are HOA open spaces that have features that are like a park. They're just HOA spaces.
Just not city.
So you talked a little bit about the hydric soils in those two areas. I guess, could you speak a little bit to how it was determined, or the process for determining whether there's not wetlands there?
Sure. So a little bit more background on this. Because those areas were already rezoned and actually went through a preliminary plat process in 2022, with that, we require a natural resource inventory to be submitted. So that will also be submitted with the upcoming preliminary plat for this version of the development. So with that natural resource inventory, they look at soils. They look for, areas that may indicate, wet areas on the site. But then there's also other attributes of a wetland that they look for. So different types of vegetation, so vegetation classes or different types of species. And so those other indicators of a wetland weren't there. But I think the main thing from the conservation design ordinance that changed is that these wetlands are isolated. So they're not considered waters of the US. They're not regulated by the Corps of Engineers. They're not connected to a jurisdictional water. And so we don't require them to be set aside and preserved.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for city staff right now?
I mean, this is not like the normal site plan that we see. This is just a very preliminary. Is there any requirement from the city side? There are a lot of neighborhoods and Ames that have these nice shared use paths that happen to connect with sidewalks and other walkable infrastructure. Is that a consideration in staff review of?
Yes. So with this conservation design development, we will be looking for connections between open spaces.
Okay, great.
Yes. So in addition to the two shared use paths you see on Hyde and then the main collector, there will also be some connections between blocks and open spaces.
Okay. At this time, if the applicant would like to come up and make a statement, they're welcome to do so.
The applicant for the rezoning approaches the podium.
Good evening, Commission. Chuck Winkleblack, Hunziker Companies, 105 South 16th Street. I think Amelia's done a great job of laying out where we are today. Excuse me. Many of your questions, I think, will be addressed as we come forward with the preliminary plat. So some of these engineering things have not been completely filtered out. This is the next logical step in the process. So happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I think more of the things will, as we move forward, the next step is with the preliminary plat, that those things will be all spelled out then. So happy to answer any questions this evening. Otherwise, just want to thank staff for getting us where we are today. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. All right. At this time, we'll open public comment. If there's anyone from the audience that wishes to come up and speak on this agenda item, feel free to come up and speak. Please give your name and your address once you get to the microphone.
A community member approaches the podium.
Who Who gets this?
You can give that to Eileen.
You can just leave it on,
Oh,
the,
sure.
on the stand. We'll pick it up later.
I'm Melanie Cornwell. I live at 4228 Eisenhower Court, which is just on the tail end of 4510. Not my particular unit, but it is a homeowners association, and there's a waterway that separates those properties. And maybe what I'm looking for is going to come later, so if I'm premature, I apologize. A couple of questions I have is, how many, at 4510, is it still 2 homes that are going in there?
Yeah, I think direct your questions.
I'm
to the-
sorry, are there
to the
2 homes
commission,
going
and
in
we-
there?
Happy to answer. It's just not how we.
I
Yeah, and
apologize.
after public comment, the applicant and the city staff can have a chance to provide any
Okay.
concluding remarks.
So I just would like clarification on what all's going to go on 4510. And then previously, we had a lot of concern about this waterway. And I don't see water retention ponds, I think you call them, on what we saw earlier. Are those still in motion?
Yeah, I think we can answer those. I mean, Amelia, if you know, you can answer now, I think, or we can cover it after public
Why don't
comment.
we, well, I'm writing these down. I will
Okay,
cover them all
perfect.
at the end.
Great.
And then the last concern I would express is whether or not Hyde Avenue can handle the amount of traffic that will be added to what's already existing, which is pretty heavy traffic. And how did you come to the decision on how many residences you could handle on a 2-lane? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to come up and speak for public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll offer the city staff and the applicant a chance to provide any concluding remarks.
The applicant for the rezoning approaches the podium once more.
Again, happy to answer a couple of the questions there. The existing house that's on the east side, and then there's one more lot that's will be added. So there'll be 2 houses is all on the east side. And this doesn't show the detention areas, but there will be the detention. We can't release water at any more than it does prior to any of the development happening. So, sorry, these maps just don't show it. But when we come back with the preliminary plat, it'll show the detention areas. And I know that area along the south there, particularly on the east side, has been of a lot of concern for people. But just know that the city staff will not let us, nor would our engineer, design anything that would release any more water than what it's coming to today. And if I didn't answer the rest of your questions, we can talk afterwards. So, all right, thanks.
Thank you. And then maybe the traffic question.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I might defer to Kelly on some of these, but there was for the development itself, we require we have previously required a traffic letter that looked at the number, the density, and how access to Hyde would be handled. And so there is a turn lane going north and left into the site shown. That was determined to be needed. Do you have anything to add on traffic?
Just so for Hyde overall, so every time we've been out here to talk about annexation, rezoning, subdivisions, the question of the Hyde traffic comes up. So when we endorsed North Growth in this area, there was a traffic study, and we adopted the comp plan about 5 years ago. The growth of this property, Quarry Estates being built, and then the Hayden's Reserve property north of here, all of those projected housing units and other uses there were put into a traffic model at that time. And so we understand traffic is going to increase. It's within the acceptable expectation of capacity of the type of road. With that said, there are known issues and concerns that the neighborhood's expressed many times, and is also reflected in that same traffic modeling, that issues of traffic calming, speed control, and then eventually a Hyde Bloomington traffic signal are all needed as growth out here occurs. The most recent transportation plan, which was approved this last year in 2025, again, redid the modeling, assuming the same types of growth, and reached those same conclusions. So for city traffic engineering staff, this level of units plus the additional growth that's going to happen with Hayden's Preserve is still within the projections. Again, knowing that there are some modifications to Hyde that are going to occur over at some point in the future to try to manage mostly speed and improve safety. It's not necessarily a capacity issue. That's what the traffic signal would address for turning movements at Bloomington.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any other questions for city staff or the applicant? Okay, we'll open it up for discussion from the commission. Or if we don't have any discussion, we can make a motion.
I'll move approval of alternative 1, that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the city council approve the request for rezoning from A agriculture to FSRL suburban low density and amended master plan based upon findings and conclusions as found in the report.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right. And then we'll move on to commission comments. Does anyone on the commission have any comments?
Will we be meeting next time?
We will not.
Oh,
Spring
well,
break, so we won't have a meeting. We don't have any items.
okay. Well, in that case, it's been great working with you all.
Yeah, do you have any final commission
Sorry
comments,
about
Mike?
that. I didn't think that far.
I'm glad I asked. Anyway, yeah, it's been a great 6 years, but my second term is up, and so it's time to go.
Well, it's been great to have you on here.
Yeah,
It's
you've
a big ass up.
really served the commission, the city well, and you've been a good chair as well when you served as chair, and we're really gonna miss you. So yeah,
And
thanks for
emergency chair several times.
Yeah, an emergency
Yeah.
chair several times.
well, yeah. Thank you for your service, Mike. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't think ahead that. I didn't even think of that. It's hard
right.
to believe when it's March 4th.
I know. Yeah. All right. Do we have any staff comments?
I do not have any comments. So we'll have,
Okay.
I believe, 2 new commissioners in April is the plan right now. So Mike LaPetra has stated he's going to step down. And you've termed out. So we'll have 2 new members in April is the plan right now.
All right. Great. Look forward to meeting them.
Down to one mic then.
I know. What are
No.
we? Well, we don't
No.
know. Is there another mic coming?
You gotta bring in some more
I
mics.
don't think any of the candidates I've seen are named Mike.
Okay.
Well, something's wrong then.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.
Yep.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
All right. We're adjourned.
Planning and Zoning Commission credits.